So I'm Michael Ranney, CEO of the Ohio Psychological Association, and joining me is Kristen Brinkman-Tell, our lobbyist, and Dr. Brad Potts, who's chair of the OPA Advocacy Committee. Brad's been involved in our advocacy efforts for many years and has attended many legislative days. I want to thank you both for being a part of this to help our members understand a little bit more about advocacy. And to get it started, Kristen, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you get into this business?
Well, thank you, Michael, for having us. I had graduated from Ohio University with a political science psychology minor and had an opportunity to go and work for Joanne Davidson as she was a state representative, had the opportunity to work on a couple campaigns, traveled around the state doing the political side, recruiting candidates, and then came back and worked as State Representative Joanne Davidson's legislative aide, and then rolled in as her executive legislative aide when she became Speaker of the House. I also served as a page in the Ohio Senate for a couple years under Senator Paul Gilmore and Senator Chuck Horn, and did some policy staff work as well. I then proceeded from the staffing stage in the Ohio House, the Ohio Senate, became a lobbyist for the Ohio Home Builders Association, worked there for a couple years, and then in the late 90s, started working in an independent lobbying firm representing numerous clients before the Ohio General Assembly.
Great.
And proudly represent the Ohio Psychological Association now in 2019 and get to work with these two fine gentlemen, Michael and Dr. Potts.
And if I might add, I do believe you are married to a member of our profession.
I am. I am married to Dr. Chip Tell, who is a corporate psychologist. So I get a little bit of extra love and understanding of the profession and the client that I represent.
It puts all that skin in the game.
Absolutely, he does.
So, Brad, how did you get interested in advocacy?
Well, I did a political science degree and minored in economics at Bowling Green State University. And at that point, I had done things like gone to the Model UN, and I was a congressional intern for Mike Malone in '85. And then I was a Senate page for David Hobson, which was just down the hallway from Gilmore, although I suspect we were at different years. That would have been '87, but I love Gilmore. I loved his staff. They were very kind to me. And so it gave me some familiarity with those issues. And then I got involved in Legislative Day and worked with Bobby Celeste for so many years. And Bobby was my mentor, and she did an awful lot to kind of help bring me along and help me understand. And working with Michael and Penny has certainly taught me a lot. And just walking the halls. So I don't know, I guess I've always had this love for the legislative process. It's, fascination with it.
We appreciate that, and we appreciate your leadership of the advocacy committee. It's really an important committee for us. We hear from our members that advocacy is one of the most important things that we do for them. So, appreciate the involvement of both of you in making us successful. So what are some of the basic things to know about effective advocacy? What are some tips for people who've never done this before?
I'll go ahead and start first, Brad, and then you can hop in. I think when I share with people how you need to advocate, when you're meeting with legislators and legislative aides, keep in mind they have a myriad of issues that go before their committees as well as their office and concerns. So when you're advocating on behalf of a particular issue that you're passionate about, understand that you're probably going to know more about those issues that you're sharing with that legislative aide and that legislator than they do. So just really talk about what you're passionate about, your profession, the things that you find complicated through the system, and what our General Assembly and state legislature could do to make that better. And to advocate, it's really just to present your side of a view and be passionate in what you're working on and what you feel could be changed in the bureaucracy of your business.
Your thoughts, Brad?
Yeah, I guess when I first got involved in that stuff, I was really taken back by how much of a legislator's operations were constituent functions. and how important it was to them that, you know, at least half their operations was responding to constituents, meeting with constituents, making people feel represented. So it kind of really impressed me how much weight someone carried by walking in the office merely by being a constituent. I thought that was really important. And it's something I think people need to bear in mind, that when you go visit a legislator, you know, all that money they raise to campaign and buy ads and stuff is to reach people like you. And when you're walking right in their door, they're going to take that opportunity to talk to a constituent. That's very important to them.
And Brad, to add to your point, that is probably the greatest point, because the only reason that elected official is there is because the constituent voted them in. So they're supposed to be representing their district and the key points and issues that are being presented by their constituents. So for a constituent to take the time out of their day to advocate either by themselves, professionally or personally, they are representing and going to their representative to carry the issues that are most important.
Yeah.
That's why those legislators are there.
I know that psychologists value data. What I do often, especially as new legislators are coming in, you can go to the legislative website and get some biographical information about them. You know, find out where they went to school, what their education and work background is. Things that will give you an idea of kind of what their priorities are. And that's just really helpful to have that information. Also on that site, you can get office contact information, so you get the phone number, get their email address, and so forth. So that's a helpful thing to do. Say a little bit about the legislative aides, because that's probably who we're going to be talking to in most cases. What kind of people are they, and what is their job?
Well, the legislative aid is an absolutely fascinating opportunity, and you have these mostly young folks who want to get in, just kind of how Michael and Brad and I started getting in the process at the level. They're the first face and voice that a constituent hears, and they're basically the legislator's right-hand man or right-hand woman on policy. They're in the office basically 24/7. Legislators have to go back from districts. You might be in Ashtabula County, back and forth. The legislative aide is in there every day, working most meetings by the side of their boss or chair of a committee or assistant chair or minority leader. So they really are the eyes and ears of that legislator, and I think in most cases the most important person in that office. I think most legislators will also tell you they wouldn't be anywhere without their legislative aide. So they are definitely the key contact. And it goes back to what you just said, Michael, as well, is it's good to kind of get a feel of where they come from. What was their interest? Where did they go? What did they go to school? What would be their goals? And you can see how they connected with certain legislators. So the legislative aide is basically the office, and everything from meetings to policy to making sure that their member is hearing all the issues that are out there before them, not only in their district, but that will be on the floor and will be dealt with policy-wise.
You know, when I was there, I was as a page, and so I looked up to many of the legislative aides. I'm 56 now, and so I might meet with those people, and physically they may seem younger now. Well, they are, and I seem older. But I guess at that time, when I was there working there and they were looked up to so much, no one looked at them that way. People didn't say, oh, these are just younger people or inexperienced people. They were looked up to and they carried a lot of weight. And so meeting with the legislative aide was as much a part of the process as meeting with the legislator. So if you're going out and you call and set up an appointment and you get an appointment with the legislative aide, that's great. That's as good as meeting with the legislator, and they're going to set a lot of the groundwork for the legislator, and they're going to sit down with him afterwards at different points in the day and say, okay, this is who I met with, and here's the issues, and this is what I think. And so everything you say, they're going to pass along.
Yeah, my experience is, and I'm the oldest of the three of us, so they really do seem like kids to me. A lot of them are recently out of college or graduate school. Some of them are going to night school to get law degrees and things of that type. They're really invested in career in public policy, they're just really into it. They're policy wonks, and you know, sitting down and talking with them, they ask great questions. They're really intelligent, and they're gathering information with them. As Brad said, they share with their boss. I agree with Kristen that it's probably more important to meet with the aide, since they're here all the time, and kind of win their favor and make that connection so you can continue to communicate with the aide and be sure that they have all the information they need to share with their boss.
And the history of term limits, what we're seeing is there's a lot of legislators rotating back and forth between the House and the Senate, or taking appointments in the administration, or only serving a couple years of the term. One of the main consistent pieces in the General Assembly is the legislative aides and staff. So starting to build that relationship in the very beginning with the legislator will be a positive. As legislators rotate in and out, you still can go back to the relationships you have with those legislative aides, which are key.
Yeah, I've watched legislators between the House and the Senate. I've seen the aides follow them, and I've watched aides that I knew when I was running around the State House, and I've seen them move up. One of them's a congressman now. I've seen them move up to be heads of departments, and those relationships with them carried on. And so it was really good that I met them when they were young and getting started, and that I have that history with them to be able to communicate.
So you have the meeting set up with the office, and you go in. Typically, how much time do you have for a meeting of this type, and how do you start the conversation?
I'll go ahead and start with that. So we always talk about, most of us anymore these days, our attention span is minimal. With legislators and legislative aides, they could have book in between committee and session appointments. They could have 20, 30 appointments during the day. So I always recommend, one, when you go in, kind of make it quick, encourage and ask where the legislative aide or what their personal issues, going back to the word we keep being consistent with, is building a relationship and gauging how much time they have. If you're going in for a pretty large issue, I would just guess, hey, but most cases I recommend no longer than 15 to 20 minutes, and kind of continue, especially with all of us in the psychology field. Body language tells you anything, so you usually tell where your attention span is and maybe when you need to take an exit. But I would highly recommend no longer than 15 minutes when we're meeting with legislative aides and legislators.
Agreed, Brad?
Yeah, when I've done that, and when I keep it nice and short, I actually almost feel this additional appreciation that when we show respect for their time. I kind of see that reflected back when I say, okay, well, hey, I know you're busy, you've got a lot to do, and I stand up and get ready to go, and it almost perks them up that, you know, that they realize we're appreciating all that they've got to do, and they are extremely busy.
Right, and Michael and Dr. Potts, you always do a nice job of saying, you know, we're going to appreciate and respect your time, and we'll leave back some follow behinds and some extra data and information, and our information always share when you're meeting with the legislator or legislative aide, so they can follow back with you with further questions. And then that continues another opportunity where you can go in and meet with them again and get deeper in the weeds on issues.
So we have two issues that we're going to be talking about in our meetings, and everybody will have talking points to use as they're going through those issues. What do you do if they ask a question you don't know the answer to?
That's a big one. That's a real big one. And it's a cardinal sin to ever just kind of guess. And most legislators, legislative aides, and most of us have been doing this a long time, you just go ahead and say, Mr. Chairman or Representative so-and-so, I really don't know the answer to that, but I'll make sure I will talk to the appropriate people and get back to you. It is most certainly top 5 in our business to make sure we build this trust. And again, back to the word of relationship, and we build this trust with these legislative aides and legislators, and they need to know that they'll be able to get the right information. Because many times legislators and legislative aides are going to take the meeting that we're having with them and turn around and have discussions with their colleagues in committee, on the floor. And we need to make sure that we're arming them with appropriate, correct, honest information, so when they carry it and turn it on, we make sure that they are also carrying the right information. So the best is, I'm really not sure, I'll get back to you.
We've certainly done that a lot, and as Michael and Kristen both know, we get a lot of inquiries from legislators, and we always get back to them, and we always double check our stuff and try and make sure it's factual. I don't want to give anyone anything that they can then shoot holes in and make it look like we misrepresented facts. And David Hayes, who did this for so many years, had a really good rule I appreciated, which was we don't use hyperbole. We don't overstate things. We don't over dramatize things. We give people the facts and respect their intelligence to make their own decision. And and this may sound a little jaded, our opposition actually doesn't do this. I do think they give out information that's inaccurate. I've read many of their things. There's lots of hyperbole. And I think that our approach over time makes us look so much more credible and helps us stand out above them. And I think because of that, that's one of the reasons OPA is so well respected in the State House, because we're honest with them.
I agree. And I also think, to add to what you're saying, Brad, is I believe in the 20 years that I've been doing this, it also doesn't hurt when you're going in to talk to legislators and legislative aides about an issue to present both sides of the issue. You can present our side and also share the honest fact with that legislator, legislative aide, such as our prescriptive authority bill. Well, the OSMA or the psychiatrist might have concerns with that, and we respect that, but this is why we're here today to represent our interests. I've noticed some of my colleagues choose not to present that or mislead a legislator or legislative aide that there is no oppositional legislation, and that is about number one cardinal sin in your legislation we put on the back burner and not heard if they feel there's no proper both sides of the story and representing the full story.
Yeah, I have to, when we present on an issue, I will always say, well, this is what the opposition's position is, and here are the facts as we see them. Yes, I understand their concern. I believe they're very passionate about it. I might even call them the loyal opposition to show respect. But however, this is what we found out factually, and I don't think it supports their position. So yeah, if I give them the opposition's arguments and then the counter response, I'm really arming them. And
Yes.
yeah, and I would feel bad about not telling a legislator or someone working with what opposition is. I would feel like I'm setting them up. I wouldn't want to do that.
One of the things that APA has emphasized in their advocacy training is the importance of telling stories from your own experience. And I think on some of these bills, well, these two bills, SIPAC, psychologists can maybe talk about a patient who's on vacation and has a need for services and wants to continue their relationship with their psychologist, and what this SIPAC legislation would mean in terms of being able to maintain contact with them and meet their needs while they're away from the city. So sharing those stories and personalizing it, I think, really is an important thing to do.
And for the RXP bill example, that would be how long your clients are having to wait to be seen by a psychiatrist, problems they've had because of the shortages, the lack of coverage in your particular area. We've had a really big push on recognition of mental health issues in this state, which has been very fortunate. And so I think they'll be receptive to those type of issues in their district. They want to know that their people are being taken care of, or if they're not being taken care of, what they can do to help.
So the meeting with the legislator or aide is winding down. Every legislator will have received a fact sheets on both of our issues via email, but I think it's important to check to be sure that they have them, and if they need additional copies, we can get them to them. I think it's a good idea to leave your business card behind so they know how to reach you. I would hope that our members would ask about having contact with the legislator back in the district when they're on break, because there are going to be a lot of breaks coming up. And that's a good opportunity to have a really more informal conversation about our bills and just get to know them more personally. If it's appropriate, I'd say offer to be a resource on any mental health issue that comes up. There are a lot of questions about Medicaid and opioid treatment and so forth that they may want to have somebody that they can turn to get additional information. And one of the things we do at the end of legislative day is everybody write a thank you note to the legislators to thank them for giving us the time that they did, or for the aid being so helpful and professional. Really praise the aid so that you'll get back to them and it'll help solidify your relationship with them. But those thank you notes are really important. What other things do you guys suggest as we're kind of winding down the meeting and getting ready to head out?
I just to think exactly what you were referencing, Michael, the appreciation for their time. Business card is key, and encouraging the legislative aid to reach out at any point, again, for resources. Many of these legislators are first-term legislators. Some are from areas that they might not have much engagement with psychologists. And we have to keep in mind also the profession of psychologists can be a bit intimidating. I know that some people think, oh, are they analyzing me, or what's going on, or where their phases are, and really just to kind of take down that feeling and really just build off of that keywords that we've been using through this whole webinar as relationship building. Here's my business card. There's not a silly or stupid question ever out there as you're moving forward, as we all are, as society is building towards an anxious time. We need to give these folks who might not have the opportunity, or their next door neighbor that they would know that is in the mental health business, to just, again, encourage them, reach out, local hometown visits, and the opportunities to call at any time with any issues, not just the two specific pieces of legislation we'll be referencing in Advocacy Day.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting point that many of them have never met a psychologist. When you walk in the door, you've got two things on your side. One, you're a constituent, and two, you're a psychologist, or many of you are in the process of being a psychologist. And many of the people are kind of in awe of that someone has done that degree of education and specialization. I was never really ready for this thing where people thought that because I'm a psychologist, I'm analyzing them. And I've kind of learned some techniques over the years, and one of them I do is they simply say, please, it's my day off. It's okay. And that seems to help them relax right away. I'm not here to analyze you. It's my day off. I'm just here to talk to you about that issue. They relax, we both laugh, and then we get on with it. And I think the thing you guys are going to find when you meet with your legislators that may surprise you is this is a much more collegial thing you're doing with them, and it's almost not at all partisan. There's very few people who operate that way out of an office because they have constituents of all political faiths. So they tend to be very welcoming, very neutral, and very engaging. And you start to think of the concept of statesmanship rather than politicians. And I think when you approach them that way, you get so much more.
Agreed. And also keep in mind, you are there for them and they represent you. So don't let the title elected official and any of that intimidate you. You will find this day most pleasurable and engaging and rather exciting. But they will make you feel comfortable in their office. They do it all the time. And again, most of them are very humbled by the opportunity to represent districts and people in the state of Ohio. So keep that in mind, and always keep in mind that you're going to know more about your issues that you're presenting to them than they to you. So be proud, be confident, and know you're making a difference.
And I would add on Michael and Kristen's point too, I've had legislators ask me about issues aside from what I'm working on, just to get my feedback. In fact, I've had it happen more when I meet them for coffee in the district and they're more relaxed. We've had psychologists testify, and afterwards people go find them having lunch and pull them in committees and meetings because they needed a psychologist. So developing a long-term relationship with them outside whatever issue we're working on today, you might find it really rewarding for the rest of your professional career to have that input in public policy. And they really appreciate having a highly educated resource. So you might be really building something that you work on for the next couple of years with these people. It's a great thing.
One of the things we're doing this year that's new is having a reception for legislators. And at last count, we had over 50 legislators signed up to come. before we started this recording, we were talking a little bit about what the protocol was for the reception. And Kristen, I thought you made some good points. If you could kind of repeat some of what you said before about what the conversation was like at the reception.
Sure. It's a much more casual feeling. Legislators and legislative aides will be stopping by probably after a long day of committees and meetings. You have an opportunity just to kind of have general conversations, catch up, where are you from? And it's just a really nice opportunity for them to wind down at the end of the day and be able to engage with us. It could be on much more personal issues or really just talk about your background and profession, but very laid back opportunity just to share and break bread and raise a glass of wine if so want. And they appreciate it because they might have to head back to committees and it will be the only opportunity for them to grab something to eat. So feel free just to mingle around the high top tables with the opportunity just to know that you might get to meet a legislator that isn't in your district. You might get to meet somebody from Cincinnati or Cleveland, rural or urban areas, and another opportunity for you to discuss what you're passionate about. And they're looking to kind of get to know you, and you can get to know and build a relationship with them, and you never know what might come out of that. But it's a much more casual atmosphere versus the one-on-one meetings in their offices. So enjoy those moments as well.
Any final thoughts on this webinar day?
It's an exciting day. I mean, many people don't have the opportunity to come down and spend time with great leaders and elected office holders in the state of Ohio. It's a beautiful building. Enjoy when you're walking around the hallways in the Rife Center as well as the State House. I believe the Ohio State House is top 10 of the most beautiful buildings in the country. So take the time to just check it out and see that there are some historic things going on there, and enjoy your day. And remember that your voice needs to be heard. Our profession needs you to be heard. So just take a moment, be confident, understand that you're going to make a difference on behalf of your profession, and enjoy it. Make it a great day.
Yeah, and I would say that I just personally, one of the reasons that I live in the halls is the history. It is a gorgeous place. We're going to be meeting in the crypt. It's historically where they had the horse stalls and they brought in carriages and people would come by horse and buggy. There's some beautiful history to this building. And please just relax, be confident. You're doctoral level professionals, and you're walking into maybe an environment that's new and unique to you, but what you're bringing in the door with you is something they need, and it belongs there, and it's respected, and just know that. Maybe this is new to you, but what you know, they don't know, and that's new to them.
Well, Kristen and Brad, I want to thank you so much for participating in this webinar. To our viewers out there, I would say if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call at 614-224-0034. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. And with that, I think we're done. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.